Olá, Brazil. My name is Nathan Schorhoff, and I'm best known for inventing the MP3 player. But I've been a part of several other disruptive technologies that I would like to share with you. I'm grateful to be with you today, and the only thing that would make it better at this exciting festival is if I could see your presence and be in Brazil with you. Brazil is one of my favorite countries to visit, and I do look forward to seeing you next year. Today, I will be sharing 5 elements which were monumental for me bringing out disruptive products. But before I do, I would like to share a little bit about my journey on bringing out disruptive products, because it'll help you understand the 4 elements a little bit better. A disruptive technology is one that displaces an established technology and shakes up the industry, or it's a groundbreaking product that creates a whole new industry, very much like the MP3 player, which I was fortunate enough to do in 1994. An entrepreneur is somebody that is always looking for a better way, because an entrepreneur is someone who sees the impossible. The COVID-19 epidemic has been a terrible disaster for us all. The virus has changed our lives drastically and has given us new challenges, how to take existing innovation and create it to the challenges that COVID has given us. There are new opportunities to create and change how we do things. As much as the Sony Walkman led me to the first MP3 player. Now, I have always been fascinated with disruptive technologies and products. It feels good to be a part of something that makes life better and easier. And innovation and startups have been my life's career. This is what I've pretty much done my entire adult life. And I gotta tell you, it's been a gift and sometimes a curse, but mostly a gift. Now, my first disruptive product was a word processor for the first Apple computer. And you may say, how can a word processor be a disruptive product? I would say you haven't seen a typewriter. In 1980, most people, other than lawyers, have never heard of a word processor. Computers, personal computers, did not exist at this time. Lawyers and attorneys had a large machine about the size of a desk, and this was their word processor. It sold for 167,000 real and had no hard drive. It stored all its data on an 8-inch floppy disk, which you can see on the screen. And this floppy disk held a total of 1.8 megabytes of storage. And to give you a better understanding, that would store and play back, approximately 2 minutes of a song. So it's nothing like we do today. The word processor for personal computers was disruptive, very much like the personal computer. The word processor in the personal computer displaced something that was used for years called typewriters. And you can see an old typewriter up there on the screen. Typewriters were in almost every office and many homes. And the question I'm always asked is, 1, how did I think of the MP3 player? And 2, am I upset or offended that the MP3 player went away? Well, let me start with how I thought about the MP3 player. I thought of the idea for an MP3 player from my last company called Test Drive. I did this right before the MP3 player. And in 1992, I purchased an encryption technology that locked and unlocked software from a CD. In other words, a user could take the CD and they could take a Microsoft program or any other well-known popular software program and try it for an allotted amount of time, whether it's 6 times or 5 days or 1 month. And after trying it, the user could call our test drive office and purchase that software instantly over the phone. Now, Test Drive's small team secured contracts with almost every major software company in the world, including Microsoft. The company's software was put on the CD, and after the user tried it, they would decide if they didn't like it or if they did like it, and they would purchase it. And if they purchase it, they would receive a unique unlocking code, and it would unlock the software over the phone. Now, this had never been done before. This was really one of the first interactive programs that exist. This was in 1992. And to give you a little bit more of the time, AOL, or American Online, was the biggest and most popular internet company of its day. Just about everybody used America Online. And you accessed the internet through your phone lines, through dial-up phone lines, which were very, very slow. So this was the time and place. What we know today didn't exist. The Test Drive CD had 200 to 300 of the most popular software products that users could try. The CDs were given away for free at computer stores. And we bundled them in a leading popular magazine, which I think is still one of the leading magazines, called PC Magazine. Now, when we made our business plan for Test Drive, we knew that it was very important to keep our distribution costs down. So we entered into a strategic partnership with PC Magazine to bundle every one of these CDs inside their magazine, which instantly got it out to more than 500,000 people. Now, this gave us a free distribution outlet, and it gave PC Magazine an opportunity to present a new technology and showcase the leading and best software every single month. This was a win-win for us and PC Magazine. The magazine distribution of CDs, or when you walk past a newsstand today, you'll see a CD in a magazine. This is very common, but in 1992, no one had ever done this before. In 1992, putting a CD bundled in a magazine was innovation. And in only 14 months from startup, Test Drive was sold to a Fortune 500 company called R.R. Donnelley and Sons for millions of dollars. Now, I stayed on for 1 year, but I never fit in a large corporation. R.R. Donnelley at that time had 39,000 employees. And I just was too much of an entrepreneur with too much passion to fit into a company like that. Sometimes entrepreneurs frighten large corporations. And sometimes large corporations frighten entrepreneurs. I remember leaving Test Drive, and I thought, if we could distribute software like Test Drive, why not downloadable music and spoken word to a computer? So when you're working on the computer, you can hear music or hear a book. And then why not from a computer to portable devices for taking the internet with you? In 1995, we used to promote Audio Highway, the company that brought out the MP3 player, by saying, we are the first company to cut the wires from your computer and take the internet with you. Today, none of this sounds innovative. But if you allow your imagination to go way, way back, and I was there when computers didn't exist in the home or the office, no smartphones existed, and even scarier yet, no Facebook or Twitter. Yes, this was innovation. And in January 1994, myself and our chief technology officer worked on my idea to create a plan for downloadable music and spoken word. And we first planned it over television cable lines. The cable companies had all the lines already in. They were fast, quick. So we made partnerships with some of the largest cable companies to use their cable lines to distribute our content. But then in 1995, the internet started to become popular, personal computers started to become in the home, and there were more computers every day in homes and offices. So we moved to the internet because it was a better way. Now, the next slide you will see is of Audio Highway's website. This website was introduced in 1995. And this was the first page of the Audio Highway website. As you can see, iTunes' model was very similar, but iTunes came out 6 years later. When bringing out a disruptive technology or a product, you may find yourself creating other standards accidentally at the same time. And I'd like to share this story with you. One early day in our development, our creative director, Ted Richards, was giving his weekly report. His department was responsible for the website and the website distribution of the MP3 content and content to listen on your computer. The population at the home for computers was just beginning to grow, and tools we take for granted today didn't exist. So Ted's dilemma at the time was, how do people select content? And how do they purchase it? How do they do this on their computer? Ted was thinking about this for weeks, and he was confused. I remember very clearly every Monday when he would come in. Well, one Monday, Ted came in all smiles. He was happy. He said that he had figured out the best way to purchase the content. Ted said he was going to do it very much like when you go shopping in a supermarket. The user would pick the content they want and put it into a shopping cart. Then after they selected all their content, they would go to checkout and they would pay. You know, the computer shopping cart was created, but at the time, our passion was on the MP3 player. The cart was just a website design, so we never protected it. We never filed any paperwork on it. But this was the first shopping cart in the world. And boom, from this accident, the shopping cart was born. Now, the second question was, am I upset about the MP3 player going away? And I'm asked that all the time. And you know, until somebody asked me, I never thought about it, because in my mind, it never went away. It really didn't. I early on had the vision that the MP3 player was eventually going to get away from a standalone device. I knew that it would be embedded into phones, radios, even TV in cars. And I had that vision. So no, it didn't go away. It changed. It evolved. It got better, very much like us as individuals. When you listen to your music on your phone, you are still using an MP3 player. It's just an embedded MP3 player. The MP3 player was upgraded with a new and better version. Now, disruptive technologies are a lot of fun and extremely exciting, and they're addicting. There's a sense of community or feeling that you and your team are in this together. and we can make a difference. This is what you feel every single day of going to work. And disruptive technologies give you an opportunity to have a positive impact on the world, which in itself is a most rewarding feeling that I can share with you. Everything from new products and technologies that change the way we do things to ways to solve climate change or cures to extend life. You know, I'm often asked, what will be the next big thing? What's going to be the next big thing in technology? And what I want to share with you is what it will be is artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence will produce the most disruptive products of the next several decades. And it will change industries to work faster and produce better results. Now, it will also extend life from saving years of research time for life-saving medications. That was one of the reasons that this vaccine is happening so rapidly, because of artificial intelligence. AI today is already being used by airlines, car rental companies, fast foods, and law enforcement. So many other industries with much more to come. Artificial intelligence will present opportunities in disruptive technologies and products for you to be a part of. Now, if you look at the next slide of this, the DNA slide, as I call it, you'll see an application that is currently being used by law enforcement today. One of the photos is a great composite photo of what a decomposed body would look like. A photo composite strictly from DNA. And alongside of it, you see one actual photo of what the person actually looked like, which was a real photo. The photo on the left of each photo shows a composite of the prediction. The photo on the right is the actual photo of the person, all done by artificial intelligence. And let me assure you, we are in the infancy of artificial intelligence. You will see products that are so disruptive and so unbelievable, far more than even the personal computer. You know, today, when you order something online from Amazon, the minute you order it, one of or two of their 45,000 robot employees and growing are dispersed to secure your order and deliver it to shipping so it can be delivered to your home. Today, products are priced using artificial intelligence based on data from where it is, demand, what people will pay, and other factors. When you have a cup of coffee from Starbucks, that cup in different locations is priced by artificial intelligence. When you have fries in McDonald's or renting a car, all artificial intelligence. It's priced dynamically on demand and other data. Another current use of artificial intelligence is the Amazon Go store. And if you look at the next slide, as you see, to enter, all you need is your smartphone, and you have an Amazon Pass that has all your information. So upon entering the store, as you can see, you swipe your cell phone and you walk in. Now you have a basket, and you shop, and you take whatever you want. And you put back, you decide you no longer want this, you put this back. When you leave, your credit card is only charged for what you took, not what you took back. And you could try to fool the sensors by taking 5 things, but it'll always know what you have. You walk out the door, your credit card is automatically charged. You never have to interface with a person. Now, this is done by sensors and several cameras around the store that has a total record of everything you've done in the store. Some people may find this a little bit scary, but there's a bright new world coming with fantastic opportunities. And they're available to you and your creative mind. And your commitment and creative mind will play a part in bringing these disruptive products to our future. I know many of you watching today with your curious minds will be a part of that future. Just the fact that you are here today. Now, with disruptive products, please keep in mind that people tend to fight the way they do things. People don't want to change, and they're accustomed of how they do things. So it's very important to remember that your product has to be so outstanding that it drives people to change. Very much like the iPhone that shook up and changed the whole telephone industry. An important factor also to remember is that an idea needs to be worthy and have a large enough market. I found sometimes entrepreneurs or engineers may build a product that themselves and 10 people they know will love it, but it doesn't sell well in the stores. Entrepreneurs are so imaginative that it's easy to be too early. Sometimes our passion can get in the way before the market is ready. And at times, this was my curse. I would be so passionate about what I did that I'd be sometimes 2-3 years ahead of the market. My imagination and my excitement wasn't always in my best interest. Being first isn't always better. The second person learns from the first mistakes, and many times does do it better. Many times the first company is the best teacher for a follow-up company producing a similar product. Now, I have been bringing out disruptive products my entire life, my entire adult life. And I have looked back and I've examined my successes and my failures of my career to determine what were the driving factors of the successes. And I came up with 5 vital ingredients that made a difference in my goals. And I believe they will make a difference in yours too. So let me go over them with you. Number 1, for me especially, is passion. This is the number 1 attribute that helped me succeed, was properly focused passion. And this also helped me to achieve the 4 other elements. Myself, the Audio Highway team, we were driven like cult members. We would believe to a fault, and that kept us going during the tough moments. I meet so many people that hate their work, and I want to encourage you to follow your dreams and put passion in your life, in everything you do, whether it's work or play. And I assure you, you will enjoy life and enjoy your work a lot more, with, of course, a few disappointments. One should look forward to going to work and not dread it. I remember I used to hate weekends. I couldn't wait for Monday to come because I enjoy my work. And I meet very few people who can say that. And I hope someday some of you can. We spend too much of our life working. So why not pick something that you love? Love what you do, and passion will drive you through the difficult moments because you love what you do. Your supporters, your team, your followers, everyone around you will also be energized by your passion. Now, the second element is a good plan. A good plan, and your team supporters will find a plan helpful so everybody's on the same path. A company without a good plan or a shared plan becomes chaotic and finds many people going in different directions with different agendas. Like a roadmap on a trip, introducing a new product or technology is also a journey. It's your roadmap of the journey. You must allow for your plan to change. In doing this, you'll be getting new data on a regular basis. Don't feel guilty about changing your plan. They are supposed to. I'd be more concerned for plans that do not change. Update your plan regularly. Never lose your vision. At times, people may try to change your direction, and sometimes it's not the right way to go. The third element, and this was probably, other than passion, one of the most important elements of my life that I would say made my career, is developing strategic relationships. And I can't say enough about this. I used to say that more than me, it was the people around me responsible for my successes. And I believe that to be true. Choose the people around you for the right reason. Relationships can go a long way in achieving your goals. It's very important to go cultivate relationships. They make a major difference. And look for business relationships where all involved benefit. If it's investors, it's profit. But if there's also a strategic relationship where both parties gain, very much like our strategic relationship with PC Magazine. And I'm asked many times by young entrepreneurs, how do I get someone to manufacture my product or idea? And is it expensive? Let me say one, yes, it is expensive. So I want to give you a few concepts for preserving your cash and getting things that you may not have the money to get. There's a saying amongst presidents and CEOs of startups that cash is king. And if you haven't learned that by your first startup, you will eventually learn it during your first startup. And I'd like to share of a strategic relationship that made a difference for me. When I was doing the MP3 player, we were a little poor company. Every dollar that came in went out for its development. The whole process was almost 8 years. Well, while developing the MP3 player, I needed somebody to make these things and carry the inventory. This was a lot of money. So eventually we ended up doing a contract, an agreement with Kia, the large Korean car company, KIA, Kia. And they invested in making the MP3 player to our specifications, and we owned it. Our company received something that we couldn't afford. And Kia received a manufacturing contract and a little stock in our company. Now, we now had a large strategic manufacturing partner. This also helped us secure additional funding. It answered a lot of questions that scared potential big investors. Now we had somebody with a big name that gave credibility and certainty that we would be able to manufacture the MP3 players. When I first started Audio Highway to introduce the MP3 player, I rented a building. It was a relatively small building, but it was a building with 2 floors. I paid no rent for our first year. I convinced the owner of the building that he should take stock in my company for the first year on a 4-year lease, and that he would make more money from that stock than the rent. Well, he felt my passion, and he felt the passion from our entire team. And he shared with us that vision for several years. And the MP3 player downloaded music, he became a believer. And he believed that he would make more money from the stock than the first year's rent, which was hundreds of thousands of dollars. I used to say, if I knew you, you were one of my shareholders. And that was almost true. Now, this not only preserved cash, But now I had a new supporter. And more, as time went on, he invested more. He became more of a company person. And, very shortly after, several of America's largest content providers started seeing the vision and signing on, like NPR Radio, Newsweek Magazine in audio, and several of the popular music labels, because they saw the vision. They saw the future. And it was all put out by the passion of our team and commitment with a good plan. All with strategic relationships fostered by the Audio Highway team, who were a bunch of believers with huge amounts of passion for what we were doing. With every new partner signing on, from content to manufacturing to financial, our goals became easier to achieve every day. To appreciate this, one needs to understand these partners and content providers were real visionaries, because the market was very, very small. And there were still people saying this was never going to happen. They were used to things sold in stores. Amazon was just starting out and no one ever heard of it. And they only sold books at this time. Music were distributed on tapes or CDs, and they were sold in something that no longer exists, we called record stores. And magazines were sold in bookstores or magazine stands. This all happened because the belief in what our entire team was doing kept the passion alive, moving forward every day with new accomplishments. Now, there were occasional setbacks, and quite frankly, more often than I liked, since I was, like the father, responsible for everything. But I got to tell you, these were the most exciting times of my life. We knew that we were changing the world of music to a new standard. We were making it better, more accessible. And looking back, and people have said this to me, one might think that the MP3 player was a very easy product to sell and get people involved with. It was not. In all my experience, it was the most difficult. But I was never more committed. Commitment is important. A story I'd like to share. When I was in my mid-20s, 2 centuries ago, I tried selling life insurance for a company that's also in Brazil called New York Life Insurance Company. Now, I disliked this job of selling life insurance from the very first month. Wait, let me be a little more honest. I more than disliked it. I didn't want to remain at the company because I didn't believe in it. I wasn't committed. I remained there for 1 year as a favor to the local general manager of a small local office in San Francisco, California. And I became fond of him, and someone adopted him as my mentor. I was young, he was about 10, 15 years older, and he was very charismatic. He was a special human being. And I tried to quit. I went to Lee, who was the manager, and convinced him that I want to quit. And he said to me, Nathan, I want you to stick it out because you can make a lot of money here, and I have faith in you. I want you to give it 1 year. And because Lee asked me, I did. But after 1 year, my feelings did not change, and I was no more committed than that first day when I went to Lee. So I went to Lee and I told Lee that I wanted to quit. And I said, Lee, I'm hurting the company because I'm not committed. You're paying me. But more so, I am hurting myself because life's too short and I spend too much time at work. I should be doing something that I love. Well, Lee agreed. Lee and I went our separate ways. And over the years, Lee and I would keep in touch a couple times a year and we would talk. Well, years later, about 15, 20 years later, my general manager, Lee Gamble, the manager of a local little office, went through the ranks of New York Life, which at the time was the 19th largest company in the world, became president and chairman of the entire New York Life company all over the world and moved to New York. I called Lee one morning and I discussed what I was doing with Lee. And I told him that I would like to sit down with him and talk with him about coming on my board of directors. Well, I flew to New York. I had lunch with Lee. We had a meeting. And not only did he agree, he was excited about it. He was excited about coming on this little company and watching it grow. And he got the passion. Lee became a believer and was a great board member. Now, this was a huge win for our little company because having the chairman and president of New York Life on our board created so much credibility where there's a saying that smart money follows smart money. That's common amongst Wall Street entrepreneurs. Well, smart money followed Lee Gamble. And as we went on, we eventually had a 9-person, very distinguished board with some of the leading presidents and CEOs of America and Italy's largest companies. Relationships are important. Remember when you were a kid and your parents didn't want you to hang around with somebody because they were a bad influence? You realize now they were right. When you need more funding, your past investors will be the first ones to invest more. Relationships, many times, can replace the need for outside additional funding. I have found that startups usually needs more capital than originally projected. Even though when you begin, you think you're going to only need this much. I can't think of an instant in my entire career of myself or other entrepreneurs who didn't need more money. Regular communication with your investors, meeting projected milestones, and new relationships is a key to maintaining support and moving your company ahead. 75% of my early investors, friends, family, angel investors, and we're talking about more than 300 people, invested more than 2 to 4 times their original investment as time went on. And I contribute this to monthly newsletters, company events with demonstrations of our product and milestones, and regular communications, whether it be newsletters or phone calls. And I recommend that you seek out mentors, people who you can trust and who you respect. Number 4, give yourself every edge and possibility of success. When I was building my company, I understood to be successful, I had to be at my peak every day, every moment, because I was up against some incredible odds. It helped me that I ran 6 miles a day, 5 days a week. I ate extremely healthy, and I was light on alcohol. I found this a very important part of my commitment, an essential part of my ability to succeed, because it gave me the stamina and energy I needed in a very competitive environment. Meditation was also helpful to keep my mind at peak performance. I would think of myself when doing all this as a gladiator, and I knew I was up against changing the world of music, and I knew it was a long journey and not an easy one. I know these things also will be helpful for you too. And the fifth element I saved for last, because this was the most stressful. Raising money is the fuel that powers your passion and vision, and without it, you will go out of business. When you first start your company, you generally look for friends and family, people you know well, who you have a good relationship, they trust you, and then if you can sell them your vision, you will get small amounts of money for them. And when you're looking for seed capital, that's who usually will give it to you first. As you meet certain milestones and make a little progress, you become a little more advanced, and you can look for angel investors or institutional investors. I had more success with disruptive product with angel investors. Now, an angel investor is just a wealthy person who may live next door or you may have known for a number of years who has wealth and they make investments. The key is they are not only your investors, they are also your partners. So you need to feel good about this relationship. When you are raising money, the key is, again, communication. Communicate to them your passion, your commitment, and most important, what success will look like and what it will look like for them. Raising capital and having the money to execute your plan is critical. Otherwise, you'll find you're constantly just putting out fires and not growing like you should and not execute as you should. My most difficult moments were twice a month when payroll and bills came due. And maybe some of you out there can relate to this. I had many sleepless nights and late night phone calls. I can remember many times on a Tuesday, I would have to meet a payroll on a Thursday for $150,000. And I had $1,000 in the bank, and I had to raise that in 2 or 3 days. I would be on the phone till 11, 12, 2 in the morning. And you know something? I never missed the payroll. And it was because of the passion and the commitment. During the early stages of my company, I spent 60% of my time raising money, and I think you will too. My vision and dream that digital music would change the world and kept me on this journey. It was exhausting, but it was also a whole lot of fun. A little story that I find humorous that I like to share, and it's one of my most disruptive stories. I was spending much of my time continuously raising money from angel investors to build this vision I had, while trying to land at the same time some large institutional investors. See, an institutional investor would write a check for $5 billion or $10 million or whatever I needed. Angel investors would put $25,000, $10,000, $50,000 at a time. So it takes a lot of them. So I needed new ones every day. So I needed to focus more on an investment banker, a venture capitalist, somebody who could write a large check. So I retained a very well-known investment banking firm from San Francisco. And they took me from institution to institution, from San Francisco, California, to New York City. There are all levels of institutional investors. Now, to explain what I mean by levels, let me compare it to a university. From the most prestigious university, and I can only discuss American universities because I'm not that familiar with Brazil, but let's take American universities. There's Harvard or there's Stanford. And we wanted a Harvard. And then there's your small local colleges, which we call community colleges. And they're also very good, but there's a lot of them, and they're small. Now, when you're trying to introduce the world to a new unknown platform, that you're not sure how the world is going to accept it, you may have to take funds or accept money under terms maybe you don't like as much. You would not get the same terms, let's say, Google or Facebook would get. So after almost presenting to every institutional investor we could find, without any luck, my vision of the MP3 player and digital music, my investor meeting started to reach the lower level of the investment world, more like the local college in your neighborhood rather than the Harvard. Now, there's nothing wrong with the local college in your neighborhood, that we were shooting for Harvard or Stanford or some big firm, not a local small college. Well, one day my investment banker called me up and he said, I've arranged a meeting with a small San Francisco investment banking firm that does transactions in the size of the amount of money you are looking for. I remember sitting there with my CFO across the desk looking at this president of this investment company. And he seemed much more impressed with his current transaction, his current deal, than hearing about my idea of disrupting the music world. Now, believe it or not, his current transaction was bottled water for dogs. Okay, I remember clearly sitting there, how discouraged I was. I remember thinking, I can't believe I'm sitting here with this moron comparing bottled dog water to disrupting the music industry with downloadable music. Well, delivering it to an MP3 player fast and efficient. The more he spoke, the more discouraged I became. As he turned investing in our company down, he passed on it. All he could do was keep talking about how much money he was going to make from bottled dog water. Just when I couldn't be any more discouraged, I was ready to leave the room. I was getting up on my way out with Grant, the CFO, and I looked at him and I thought, there's no way I could be insulted. And he looked at me and said, just think, after dogs, there's cats. And this shows you that investors are not always right. Even though they might not think your product or technology is worthy, you can prove them wrong. Now, the good news is we did prove him wrong. Bottled dog water failed, and we succeeded. We built a successful company. We did a NASDAQ public offering. All my investors made many times their money, bought houses, cars, and had fun. And we introduced the first MP3 player called the Listen Up player, and you can see it on the slide on the screen. Now, the moral of the story is never give up. When you're pursuing your dreams, remember, if it was easy, everybody would be doing it. When you have passion in your heart, stay with it. Don't let doubtful people discourage you. Make smart decisions. But if you believe in your plan, stick with it. I know I did, and there's not a day that I'm sorry. Obrigado.